Let's make paper clips that have it all. Hello, it's another Tuesday. They're coming round really fast. I have loads of videos planned, but it was my daughter's 18th birthday and it was kind of a whole week of things for that going on, and I've been working on a couple of things behind the scenes which will be coming at some point, and I just kind of didn't really get round to doing everything I planned. So this week I'm in full-on work mode and hopefully we can catch up on some of that. Now, there are a million cluster masters out there, as you probably know. We've got Corey creating with scraps, Gayla Gestinelli, Camellia Crafts, Crafty by Tony. This is kind of inspired by her today. We've got Kerry the Crafter, Kerry from Which Craft Do You Do, Seven Plaza, Liz the Paper Project, Tina from Shabby Dabby Doodah. That's just the tip of the iceberg. If you search clusters, there are millions of videos, and I have several myself. And also paper clips, covered paper clips, hidden paper clips, pocket paper clips, all sorts of paper clips. And again, so many people have been there and done that. I am going to do a little variation on mixing those together today, and like I said, probably mostly inspired by Tony from Crafty by Tony. I think there's another word in there somewhere. I'll pop a link down below. But I wanted to do something that we start from basics, keep it simple. I'm quite excited about it actually. Haven't made paper clips for a while. Quite simple today, and we're going to do that thing again where we start small. Start from the simplest part of the project. We're going to do this methodically. So I'm using small paper clips for this. The big ones were a little bit too big. Let's bring that up so you can actually see. So this paper clip is maybe just under 3 centimeters, and that is just over 1 inch, an inch and a quarter, not quite an inch and a quarter. That's the size of the paper clips I'm using. So let's grab some scraps. You kind of need some strips for this. You can use book pages, glue a couple together, and you'll be able to do this with book pages. But what I'm doing is just grabbing out, that's going to not be long enough, that one will be. Just grabbing my scraps. These are perfect offcuts. Let's grab those. What else do we have in here? Oh, they just keep coming, don't they? Doesn't matter how many scraps you use, you've always got more. Right, I'm just going to pull those out because we need some strips. Right, got my scraps, grabbing my paper trimmer. We need our scraps, our strips, to be 5.5 centimeters long. So I'm going to cut that, and I am making my strips 1.5 inches wide. So 5.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And I am just going to cut some strips. Okay, I've got a few here. We'll start with this. So what you want to do is whichever piece of the pattern you want a little bit showing of, you need to fold it onto the inside. So I'm just going to fold all of my strips in half, like this, with the pattern you want showing on the inside. To be honest, you're only going to have a little bit of this showing, so it doesn't have to, you don't have to worry too much, because we're actually decorating one of the sides of this. Okay, so we now have these. In come our paper clips. Grab a paper clip and pop it over the fold on each of your little paper clips. So So you take your piece of cardstock or whatever it is, book pages if you've cut book pages, and just pop your paper clip onto the folded end. Now again, none of this is new. These have been done before. Now I'm going to take my corner rounder. I'm using the large corner rounder, and with that I'm now working on the open side, and I'm just going to round each of my corners like this. So now we have something that looks like this. Take one of your paper clips, and you want to be working with the longest edge. So look for the longest edge of the paper clip, lay it down, pick up that side and just fold it back on itself, and make sure you line up your edges. Okay, so we've got the longest paper clip edge there, and we're just folding that over. And now what we're going to do is work on the other side. We're just going to fold that up to our edge and just fold that down. So now we have the start of our paper clip. And if I grab a piece of card, you can see how this is going to work. We're going to have our little tabs like that, and it's hidden on this paper clip. So again, let's take this one, the longest edge of our paper clip, fold that over and make sure we line up the sides nicely, and then turn it over and fold up to that crease. So we have our flaps like that. So I'm just going to do the rest of mine. So there we have the start of our little paper clips. Now I'm going to push those aside. I'm just going to keep one out, just open that out. So I've got one of my flaps here. Now I have some book pages, little book page pieces that I've started to tear. I have some tiny little cotton fabric scraps. I've also got a few little pieces of chiffon scraps, and I want to make another little pile. Now I'm going to be using, I didn't want to use my originals, I'm using a digital kit, and these are just tickets. They're from my shop, and I'm just going to grab out 4. You could use, if you didn't want to do this, you could use a piece of magazine page. You could use another book page, which kind of looks a little bit different to that. And I'm just going to tear some little pieces like this. And the reason I'm using tickets is because they've got a bit of interest, bit of text, a few numbers, and also they are just the right size for this project. Right, so now I've got a little pile of tickets as well. I've already got a few that I've started. Tickets. I'm going to take a little piece of paper, line that up, and I'm using this portrait. I'm keeping my tag portrait because this tab will stick out of the side, and I'd kind of like it on its side. You could do it either way, to be fair. Just going to tear that a little bit smaller. So that's one. Let's just tear them down so they all fit. So now I'm just going to pick a little piece of ticket. I'm going to ink it a little bit. You could tear more edges if you wanted to. Let's pop that one on there. Make sure we've got some colour variation on here. This is about working logically. They won't all look the same just because we are using the same 3 base elements. So we've got our book page, then we've got a piece of ticket, then we're going to have a piece of fabric. But this does not mean they are all going to look alike. That doesn't actually stand out very much there, does it? So I'm only actually using 2 of the tickets in the end, so you can get a lot of clusters out of 2 tickets. We've got 6 clusters here and we've only used two of those tickets. I'm going to keep this super simple. I'm going to grab my stapler, and this is the tiny attacher, but you don't have to use this at all. You can use a normal stapler. Now I'm going to take a little piece of fabric, pop that down underneath the ticket. Take my stapler and just pop a staple in there. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to do the same with the others. Just stick a staple in, holding those pieces together. Okay, so we're starting small. We've got 3 elements to make this little cluster. It's really simple, really straightforward. There's not a lot to it. Now we've got our staple in. If you want to, you can go ahead and just glue the little bits down just to make them more secure if you want. So let's move those aside because I've got some more that I need to make as well. I'll do those off camera because obviously it's going to be very repetitive. And just ink around the edges of these. If you want to sew your paper clips, now is the time to do it. I'm going to leave a couple out and I'm not going to sew those, but I am going to sew these ones. If you are sure all of your paper clips are the same, you can just pull them out now before we glue anything together. You don't want to put any stitching on the inside here. We're just going to sew around these. So I'm going to do that on my paper clips and then I will be back. Okay, so I've got several now that are not sewn. I'm going to show you this one. So this is what I was doing. I started here and stitched around, then I lifted the needle up and just took it to here and stitched here. So I've got a little thread that I need to trim on these like that, and then I can put my paper clip back on. Now some of these are ones that we made together and some of them are ones that I made before just to make sure it was going to work. This one you can see I forgot to lift the needle up and stitched all the way along, which I don't think is such a big deal. That's okay. Let's put a paper clip back on there. And these are the same ones which I think are ones I made before I started to film. So I'm just going to give these a quick ink. Right, so what I want to do is I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've just done one, didn't quite work out the way I wanted to because I didn't cut my tape correctly. So I want to be able to see both pieces of my paper clip. I'm going to grab my glue, put some glue on the inside of that paper clip, either side of the paper clip, just like that. I'm going to grab a piece of surgical tape and cut that. I want to make sure this is going to fit, and then I'm going to just lay that over my paper clip. My paper clip is pretty much covered by that tape. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to do the same on the other side. There is a reason for this and you'll see why shortly. Again, grab a little piece of tape. I'm using surgical tape because it's nice and thin. You could use a washi tape or even a sellotape, it doesn't matter, but I would make sure you put a little bit of glue around your paper clip just to make sure you're covering that well. Put that down. Now, if you're not going to do what I'm doing, okay, so that is our paper clip taped into place. You don't have to do this necessarily. I'm going to grab my glue and I'm going to glue that panel where my paper clip is. and then I'm going to fold that piece over, and I'm going to hold that down for a minute. Now, I did try and use my little clips, but I found I was actually marking my cardstock, which I don't want to happen, so I'm not doing it this time. Right, so that piece is glued down. You can see this panel here. I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue along that inside edge, and I'm going to glue the bottom edge like that. And then what I need to do is glue that tab. If you're not making a little pocket, just glue the whole thing. And then we're going to close that up. And again, I'm going to hold that until I'm sure that glue has caught and has started to dry. I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock, take my paper clip, and that will now slot on with a tab. But we have a little tiny pocket. So I'm going to grab one of my tiny little tea-dyed tags, and that can now slot into that pocket. And that's why we needed to tape that paper clip down, because otherwise this is going to catch when we put it in. We've got a little pocket in our tiny little paper clip, and now we're going to decorate this, and I want to do it so it's this way. So I'm going to grab my little cluster that we made at the beginning. I'm going to grab something to decorate this. Now I'm using this, for example, is our pieces from my Awesome Assemblage kit. So we could add a butterfly with a little number if we wanted to. I like that, so I'm going to ink. So I'm going to glue my cluster into place. And I'm happy to have a little bit hanging over the top there. Take my little embellishment, whatever you decide to use. I've got a couple of little things from a book page here that I'm going to try in a moment. Glue that. Take my number. And I'm going to glue that. So that is our first one done. Now you could have that on the top of a page. So pop that on. And you could have that on the top of a page, or you could have it sticking out as a page tab. And then we've got a tiny little pocket with a tag in there. You could hang something on here. You could also leave these a little bit less decorated if you wanted to put a hole in and have a dangle, and you could still do that. You could pop a dangle in there if you wanted to. So that's our first paper clip done. So I've now got this one. So I'm going to glue around my paper clip. Cut a piece of my surgical tape and put that over my paper clip. I'm going to turn that over and do the same on the other side. Okay. This time let's do the pocket side first. So what I'm going to do is glue along the bottom and along that edge, close that up, and just hold that in place until I'm pretty sure that has caught. And now this time I'm just going to glue the whole side. This is probably the easier way round, actually. Make sure that's nice and glued. Close that. My little tag will pop in that little pocket. And now I can decorate this. So what I found this tiny little book. I found this book fly page. It's called Fields and Lowlands. And the fly page has these amazing little images. So I'm going to cut one of these out and see if it will fit on my little paper clip. Just going to have to cut that off. That's a little bit too big. So I'll ink this, glue this down. And then glue our little image. So this just shows, even though this is very small, once you've made your cluster, you can pop anything over the top of that. And again, this is our second little paper clip. And if you wanted to add some words to this or a number, you could absolutely do so. And then we've got another little tab. Okay, so that's two done. Two done. Let's do a third. So what I'm going to do is this one I'm not going to make a pocket. I'm just going to glue this straight down so I can glue both of my panels at the side. If you're not putting a pocket in, you don't have to put the tape over that paper clip. It's just to stop anything catching. So I'm just going to hold this down until it's dry. Every time I do this, I panic that I've actually glued the middle, but you can't possibly glue the middle. So I know that's really, it's not really worth worrying about. Okay, let's put that here. Now, I've cut out a few little toadstools from one of my kits, and this page can be left as it is, but I've cut out some of these tiny little toadstools. So I'm going to add one of those to this one. So let's glue that. And then glue this down to our paper clip. So this one is pocketless. There's no pocket in this one. And again, it could go up the top or it could go sideways, and you could put your images on any which way you like. Let's go pocketless for this one as well. So I'm just going to glue this straight down, and again, we don't have to worry about gluing that paper clip if we're not adding a pocket. Just thought the pocket was an extra little fun feature if you wanted to do that. Okay, let's see what we can find to decorate. Okay, so I've got a little clock face here and a little word that says the end. This one I think I'm going to add that way. That would make a nice tab for the last page of a journal, wouldn't it, at the end? Okay, so that's 4 done. I'm going to keep going and then I'll show you what I've done at the end. I ended up with 13 in the end, 13 hidden paper clips with little teeny pockets and clusters. They're also page tabs, so they're multifunctional. I hope you like them. Some of them have got little pieces of book page on, some of them are sewn, some of them have insects on. You could decorate these for any themed journal. The little tiny pocket and tag is just kind of a little bonus extra, really. I thought it would be fun. I hope you like them. I hope you'll give them a go, and if you do, I hope you share so I can see what you come up with. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone for inspiration on the clusters and the paper clips, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.